wealthy CEO dined at his Maid'S humble home. But what he learned that night changed everything. 24-year-old Logan Pierce thought he knew his father's legacy, until 20-year-old Nia Carter served him truth with cornbread in her tiny Bronx apartment. Have you ever discovered something that completely shattered your reality? Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. The billionaire CEO accepted a dinner invitation from his maid and discovered his fortune was built on a lie that destroyed her family. 24-year-old Logan Pierce thought he knew his father's legacy, until 20-year-old Nia Carter served him truth with cornbread in her tiny Bronx apartment. That night, she showed him documents proving his tech empire was stolen from her father, a janitor whose patent changed the world but never got credit. Have you ever discovered something that completely shattered your reality? Have you ever worked for someone who had no idea what your family went through? Do you know someone whose contributions were stolen or overlooked? This is about power, justice, and what happens when the truth refuses to stay buried. What would you do if everything you own came from someone else's pain? Drop a comment about where you're watching from, and hit subscribe because this story will challenge everything you think you know about success and justice. Let me take you back to where it all started, a simple dinner invitation that would change two lives forever. Logan Pierce stared at the handwritten note on his kitchen counter like it was a bomb waiting to explode. In 3 years of running Pierce Technologies, no employee had ever dared to leave him a personal message. But there it was, written in careful cursive on yellow notebook paper. Mr. Pierce, would you like to have dinner at my place tomorrow? Real food, not the fancy stuff. Just thought you might be hungry for something different. Nia. He crumpled the note, then smoothed it out again. Nia Carter had been cleaning his penthouse for 6 months, moving through his life like a ghost. She arrived at dawn, left at dusk, and never spoke unless he asked her something directly. He knew nothing about her except that she was young, quiet, and did her job without complaint. The idea was ridiculous. CEOs didn't eat dinner with their housekeepers. His father would have thrown the note in the trash and fired her for being inappropriate. But Logan found himself reading it again, focusing on those words, real food. Everything in his life was artificial. Board meetings, business dinners, relationships that existed only because of his bank account. When was the last time someone had cooked for him? When was the last time anyone had wanted his company without wanting his money first? He walked through his floor-to-ceiling windows and looked down at the city below. Millions of people living real lives while he floated above them in his glass tower. His father had built this empire, this isolation, this perfect, lonely existence. Logan had inherited everything, the wealth, the power, the crushing weight of living up to a legend. But maybe, just maybe, he could inherit something different tonight. He pulled out his phone and typed a quick response. What time? The reply came back in minutes. 7 p.m. I live in the Bronx. I'll send you my address. Logan stared at his phone screen. The Bronx. He'd never been to the Bronx. Hell, he'd never been anywhere that wasn't designed for people like him. His hand shook slightly as he typed back. I'll be there. He hit send before he could change his mind. Have you ever accepted an invitation that changed your life? Tell us in the comments. Logan's Tesla felt like a spaceship landing on another planet as he parked outside the rundown apartment building. The contrast hit him immediately. His car cost more than most people here, made in 2 years. Kids played in the street. Music drifted from open windows, and the smell of a dozen different dinners mixed in the evening air. He'd never experienced anything like it. His world was sanitized, controlled, predictable. This was alive. Nia opened the door before he could knock, wearing jeans and a simple blue sweater that made her look even younger than 20. You actually came, she said, surprise flickering across her face. I said I would. Rich people say a lot of things. She stepped aside to let him in. Doesn't mean they mean it. The apartment was tiny but spotless, filled with warm light from table lamps and candles. The walls were covered with family photos, children's artwork, and a single-frame diploma. It felt more like home than his penthouse ever had. This is beautiful, he said, meaning it. It's small. Small doesn't mean not beautiful. She looked at him like she was trying to figure out if he was mocking her. Dinner's almost ready. You can sit wherever you want. The kitchen table was set for two, with mismatched plates and cloth napkins. A pot of something that smelled incredible bubbled on the stove. Logan couldn't remember the last time he'd eaten anything that wasn't prepared by a professional chef or served at a restaurant with more stars than sense. "You didn't have to do all this," he said. "I wanted to." She stirred the pot, not looking at him. "I've been cooking for my family since I was 12. It's what I do when I need to think." "What have you been thinking about?" She turned to face him, and he saw something in her eyes he'd never seen before: complete honesty. "You, whether you're actually human or just really good at pretending to be." The words should have offended him. Instead, they made him laugh. "I'm not sure I know the difference anymore. That's what I was afraid of." She served him a plate of fried catfish, mac and cheese, and green beans that tasted like they'd been cooked with love instead of a recipe. Logan had eaten at the finest restaurants in the world, but nothing had ever tasted this good. "This is incredible," he said. "It's just food." "No, it's not. He searched for the right word. "It's care. Someone actually cared whether I enjoyed this meal." For the first time since he'd arrived, Nia smiled. "Yeah, I guess I did." "What's the most memorable meal someone has cooked for you? Share your story below." Logan was reaching for seconds when he noticed a photograph on the wall behind Nia's head. A black man in a janitor's uniform stood proudly next to what looked like an early computer prototype, his smile wide and genuine. Something about the image made Logan's chest tight. "That's my father," Nia said, following his gaze. "Marcus Carter. He died 3 years ago. He looks happy. He was, at least in that picture." She got up and took the frame down, holding it like it was made of glass. This was taken in 2004, when he still believed the world was fair. Logan studied the photo more carefully. The man's eyes held the same intelligence he saw in Nia's, but there was something else. A dreamer's hope that life had clearly beaten out of him. What did he do? Officially, he cleaned offices at night. Unofficially, she sat back down, still holding the frame. He was the smartest man I've ever known. Self-taught programmer, inventor, dreamer. He saw patterns in code that other people missed. Where did he work? Different places. But his last job was at a tech company. Night shift cleaning bathrooms and emptying trash cans. She traced her finger along the frame's edge. He used to come home and tell me about the computers he saw, the programs people were working on. He'd stay up after work, writing his own code on this old laptop he'd bought at a pawn shop. Logan felt something cold settle in his stomach. What kind of programs? Artificial intelligence, machine learning. He was obsessed with teaching computers to think like humans. She looked up at him. He said it was the future, that whoever figured it out first would change everything. The cold feeling spread through Logan's chest. Pierce Technologies had built its fortune on AI and machine learning. His father's revolutionary breakthrough in 2005 had made them billions. But looking at this photo, at the date written on the back, 2004, Logan felt the ground shift beneath him. He was brilliant, Nia continued. He'd show me these algorithms he'd written, these beautiful, complex patterns that could predict human behavior. He said he was going to patent them, start his own company, change our lives. What happened? He got fired. Her voice went flat. Company said he was spending too much time on personal projects during work hours. They escorted him out, took his laptop, made him sign some papers. He never recovered from that. Lost his apartment, his confidence, his dreams. Started drinking, stopped coding, died of a heart attack 2 years later. Logan stared at the prototype in the photo. It looked familiar. Too familiar. The design, the interface, even the way the code was displayed on the screen, it all reminded him of something he'd seen before. What was the name of the company? Nia looked directly at him. Pierce Technologies. The fork slipped from Logan's hand and clattered onto his plate. The world went silent except for the sound of his own heartbeat thundering in his ears. Have you ever discovered something that made you question everything? Let us know what you think is in those papers. Your father stole my father's work. The words hung in the air like smoke from a fire that was about to consume everything Logan thought he knew about his life. Nia's hand shook as she walked to a closet and pulled out a cardboard box, worn and taped shut. I've been carrying this around for 3 years, she said, setting it on the table between them. "Every time I cleaned your office, every time I organized your files, every time I listened to you talk about your father's genius, I wanted to throw this box at your head and scream, 'Nia, I don't understand.' Then let me help you understand." She ripped the tape off the box with violence that made Logan flinch. "This is what your family left my father with. Documentation of work that was never his, ideas that were stolen, dreams that were murdered." She pulled out a manila folder stuffed with papers. Logan saw handwritten code, algorithm diagrams, and patent applications that were never filed. The dates were all from 2003 and 2004. The handwriting was neat, careful, brilliant. "My father worked on these every night after cleaning your father's office," she said, spreading the papers across the table. "He'd come home covered in other people's garbage, but his mind was full of possibilities. He'd sit right here and write code that could change the world." Logan picked up one of the papers. The algorithm was complex, elegant, and absolutely familiar. It was the foundation of Pierce Technologies' breakthrough AI system, the system that had made them billions. "This can't be right," he said, but even as he spoke, he knew it was. "Look at the dates, Logan. Look at the signatures. Look at the patent applications that somehow never got processed." Her voice cracked. "Your father didn't just steal his work. He stole his future, his dignity, his life. My father was a good man. Your father was a thief." The words cut through the room like a blade. "He saw my father's genius and decided it belonged to him. He waited until my father trusted him, until my father shared his dreams, and then he took everything." Logan stared at the papers, his father's voice echoing in his memory. "Son, the key to success is recognizing opportunity when it presents itself." Had this been the opportunity? A janitor's brilliance, unprotected and vulnerable? After they fired him, "My father spent months trying to prove the work was his," Nia continued. "He couldn't afford lawyers. He couldn't fight a company like yours. So he watched from the outside as his code made your family rich while we lost everything. I didn't know. Of course you didn't know. You were 16, living in your mansion, going to your private schools. You didn't know that the foundation of your fortune was built on a black man's stolen dreams." She gathered the papers back into the folder. "But you know now." Logan stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. "I need to go. Running away won't change the truth." "I'm not running. He stopped. He was running. Just like his father had run from accountability, just like he'd been running from reality his entire life. "I'll look into this. Will you? Or will you go back to your tower and pretend this conversation never happened?" Logan pulled out his phone and took a picture of the algorithms before she could stop him. "I'll look into this," he repeated. "What would you do if someone accused your family of something this serious? Team Logan or Team Nia?" Logan couldn't sleep. 3 in the morning, and he was still staring at the photo on his phone. Marcus Carter's handwritten code, elegant and brilliant, staring back at him like an accusation. He'd been lying to himself for hours, trying to find explanations that didn't exist. Maybe his father had hired Marcus as a consultant. Maybe there was some legal agreement. Maybe Nia was confused about the timeline. But deep down, he knew the truth was simpler and uglier than any excuse he could create. Logan threw on clothes and drove to Pierce Technologies. The building was empty except for security guards who barely looked up as he badged into the executive floor. His footsteps echoed in the hallway as he walked toward the archive room, a dusty basement filled with boxes of old company records that nobody ever looked at. If Marcus Carter had worked here, if his father had done what Nia claimed, there would be evidence. Employment records, termination papers, something that would either prove her right or give him ammunition to prove her wrong. The archive room smelled like old paper and forgotten secrets. Logan pulled boxes from 2004, spreading files across the concrete floor like a detective working a cold case. Personnel records, security logs, project files, pieces of his father's empire that had been buried for 20 years. Marcus Carter's employee file was thin. Hired as night custodial staff in January 2004. Solid performance reviews for 8 months. Then nothing. No termination paperwork, no disciplinary actions, no explanation for why he disappeared from the payroll. But Logan found something else. In a box marked legal, confidential, he discovered a folder that made his blood run cold. Non-disclosure agreements, intellectual property transfers, and a single sheet of paper that changed everything. It was a memo from his father to the legal department. Effective immediately, all custodial staff are prohibited from accessing computers or technical equipment during their shifts. Any personal laptops or devices found on company property will be confiscated and destroyed. The date was September 15th, 2004, 2 weeks before Marcus Carter's employment ended. Logan's hands shook as he kept reading. Meeting notes about securing proprietary innovations. Legal discussions about protecting company assets from unauthorized access. And then, buried in a stack of routine correspondence, he found the smoking gun. A handwritten note from his father. The night janitor has been developing AI algorithms on company time. Brilliant work. See if we can acquire the rights quietly. If not, we'll need to terminate his employment and ensure he can't take the work elsewhere. Logan dropped the paper like it was on fire. His father hadn't just stolen Marcus's work, he planned it, calculated it, destroyed a man's life as casually as approving a budget request. The genius everyone had praised, the revolutionary breakthrough that built their fortune, the legacy Logan had spent his whole life trying to live up to. It was all a lie. He pulled out his phone and called Nia. It rang 4 times before she answered. "Logan, it's 3 in the morning. I found it," he said. "I found the proof. Your father's employment records, the legal memos, everything. You were right. My father stole his work." Silence on the other end. "Nia, I know I was right," she said quietly. "The question is what you're going to do about it. Have you ever had to confront the truth about someone you loved? What do you think is in that envelope?" Logan kept digging through the legal files, hoping he'd find something that would make his father look less like a monster. Instead, he found something that made everything worse. A sealed envelope marked, "Marcus Carter, confidential, destroy after use," sat at the bottom of the box like a time bomb waiting to explode. Logan's hands trembled as he opened it. Inside was a contract offering Marcus $50,000 to provide consulting services on his own stolen algorithms. The language was carefully crafted to make it look like Pierce Technologies was hiring him, not stealing from him. But the real kicker was the non-compete clause that would have prevented Marcus from ever working in tech again. Attached to the contract was a handwritten letter from Marcus, refusing the offer. "Mr. Pierce, I developed these algorithms on my own time, with my own equipment, using my own knowledge. They represent years of work and are the foundation of my family's future. I cannot accept payment for what is already mine, nor can I agree to stop pursuing my dreams. I will be filing patent applications next week and seeking investors to help bring this technology to market. I hope you understand that some things cannot be bought." The letter was dated October 1st, 2004. Marcus had been fired on October 3rd. Logan found security footage logs showing Marcus being escorted from the building that night. His personal belongings, including his laptop and research notes, had been confiscated for security purposes. The laptop was never returned. But the worst part was what Logan found next. A company-wide email from his father, sent the day after Marcus was fired. "Team, I'm pleased to announce a breakthrough in our AI development program. Our research team has successfully created machine learning algorithms that will revolutionize the industry. Full development begins Monday. This innovation will position Pierce Technologies as the leader in artificial intelligence for decades to come." The same algorithms Marcus had been developing in his tiny apartment were now being claimed as Pierce Technologies' original work. Logan's father had built an empire on stolen genius, and everyone had celebrated him for it. Logan kept reading, each document making him sicker. Legal strategies to prevent Marcus from fighting back. Discussions about discrediting him if he went public. Plans to tie him up in court battles he couldn't afford. The final document was Marcus's death certificate. Heart attack at age 38, 2 years after being fired. The address listed was a homeless shelter in Atlanta. Logan sat on the concrete floor, surrounded by the evidence of his father's crimes, and cried. Not the careful, controlled tears of a CEO, but the broken sobs of a man watching his entire world collapse. His phone buzzed. A text from Nia. "Are you okay? You sounded strange on the phone." Logan looked at the papers scattered around him. The proof of his father's theft, Marcus's refusal to stay silent, the systematic destruction of a brilliant man's life. He took pictures of everything, then carefully put the documents back in their boxes. He drove to Nia's apartment as the sun was rising. She opened the door in pajamas, her hair messy from sleep, and took one look at his face. "You found more than you wanted to," she said. "My father offered yours $50,000 to keep quiet about the theft. When your father refused, they destroyed his life." Logan pulled out his phone and showed her the photos. They didn't just steal his work. They made sure he could never recover from it. Nia scrolled through the images, her expression growing harder with each one. "He died in poverty while your family got rich off his brilliance. I'm going to fix this. How? I don't know yet, but I'm going to find a way to make this right." She looked at him for a long moment. "Are you ready to lose everything you have?" "I already lost everything that mattered." "What would you do with this information? Would you risk everything to make it right?" Logan sat across from Nia at her kitchen table, the same place where his world had started crumbling 12 hours earlier. The box of Marcus's papers was open between them, but now it was joined by Logan's phone, showing photo after photo of his father's crimes. "I need to tell you something," Logan said, his voice barely above a whisper. "When I was growing up, I worshipped my father. He was my hero, my role model, the standard I measured myself against. Everything I did was to make him proud." Nia didn't respond, just watched him with those intelligent eyes that reminded him so much of her father. He used to tell me stories about his big breakthrough, the moment when he cracked the code that would change everything. He made it sound like magic, like inspiration had just struck him out of nowhere. Logan laughed bitterly. "I spent my whole life trying to have that same moment of genius. I wanted to be worthy of his legacy. And now I know there was no genius, no inspiration, just a man who saw something beautiful and decided to steal it." Logan pushed the phone toward her. "Your father created something amazing, and my father murdered it." Nia picked up the phone and scrolled through the images again. When she reached the photo of Marcus's death certificate, she stopped. He died thinking he was a failure, that his ideas weren't good enough, that he wasn't smart enough to compete in the real world. He was brilliant. I know he was brilliant. Her voice cracked, but he died believing he wasn't. They sat in silence for a moment, both mourning the same man in different ways. Logan had lost his father's memory. Nia had lost her father's life. "I'm going to make this public," Logan said. "I'm going to tell everyone what really happened. The board will never let you do that. The board works for me. The board works for money. If you threaten their profits, they'll find a way to stop you." She leaned forward. "Logan, these people destroyed my father when he was nobody. What do you think they'll do to you?" "I don't care." "Yes, you do. You care about your company, your employees, your reputation. You care about being able to sleep at night." She touched his hand. "But caring isn't enough. You need to be smart about this." "What do you mean?" "I mean, you need to be ready for war. Because the minute you try to honor my father's memory, they're going to try to destroy you the same way they destroyed him." Logan's phone buzzed. A text from his assistant. "Emergency board meeting called for 9 a.m. Attendance mandatory." He showed Nia the message. "They already know." "Ow!" "Security cameras in the archive room. They've been watching me since I left your apartment last night." Logan stood up. "I have to go." "Logan." She stood too, and for the first time since he'd met her, she looked scared. "Be careful. These people have been keeping secrets for 20 years. They won't let you expose them without a fight." "I know. Do you?" "Because I've been getting text messages all night from numbers I don't recognize. People telling me to keep my mouth shut, to remember my place, to think about what happened to my father." Logan felt ice in his veins. "They're threatening you?" "They're reminding me that I'm nobody, just like my father was." "Do you think Logan can actually make this right? What would justice look like to you?" The boardroom felt different when Logan walked in. Instead of the usual morning coffee and casual conversation, 10 of Pierce Technology's most powerful people sat in complete silence, their faces grim and their eyes cold. Victoria Sterling, the board's longest-serving member, didn't waste time with pleasantries. We need to talk about your recent activities. My recent activities? Breaking into company archives at 3 in the morning. Photographing confidential documents. Making unauthorized contact with former employees. Victoria slid a tablet across the table. We know about your investigation, Logan. We know about the Carter girl. Logan looked at the screen. Security footage showed him in the archive room, going through boxes, taking pictures of documents. They'd been watching him the entire time. Marcus Carter was a brilliant man whose work was stolen, Logan said. We built our fortune on his ideas, and he died in poverty because of what we did to him. What we did, Victoria repeated. Interesting choice of words from someone who was 16 when these events occurred. I'm CEO of his company now. That makes me responsible for its past. No, Logan. That makes you responsible for its future. Board member James Walsh leaned forward. Do you have any idea what would happen if this information became public? The lawsuits, the investigations, the complete destruction of everything your father built. Good. The word hung in the air like a challenge. Victoria's face didn't change, but Logan saw something dangerous flicker in her eyes. Good, she repeated. Logan, this company employs 15,000 people. We have contracts with the government, partnerships with major corporations, investments that support entire communities. If Pierce Technologies falls, it doesn't just hurt us. It destroys thousands of innocent lives. And what about Marcus Carter's life? What about his family?